And we are live. So, with what is your good luck charm?
My good luck charm? I pray a lot. I think God is my good luck charm. God be like, don't say that. But SOS, Lord, please come through. Like I literally,
Girl.
I honestly feel like that. Like I don't have nothing that gives me just this overwhelming luck. I really pray for everything. Anytime I wanted something career wise, or I was in distress, or I just I felt at a roadblock, I guess, with opportunities. I pray about it. And a lot of times I feel like through my prayer, I have manifested a lot of great positive things for myself.
Okay. All right. Hey, Jocelyn. Welcome. Thank you all for coming to another Texas State's podcast recap. Yes, we are still playing with the dates. So maybe Thursdays, maybe Fridays. We're going to try to be as consistent as we can, but I really want to make sure that I keep my get like respect my guest time, and want to keep Kayla in the loop. So we'll try to be as consistent. But if you follow us on social media, you'll be kept up to date of what day of the week we'll be going live. So Thursday or Friday, but typically one of those 2 days. Thank you to Chrissy for coming on the live. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this week's conversation, especially when morality kind of hits where you're like, so we're not going to be 30 forever.
Right?
we have some serious decisions to make, and learning to honor not just who we are today, but who we will be, next year, 5 years from now, a decade from now, a generation later, honoring that space of who we're going to be. So I really appreciated this conversation.
I did too. I
Hey,
think
Jay.
it hit home. It was really important. Growing old, and saying old is so derogatory sometimes, but growing older, it can cause a lot of anxiety and a lot of pressure because
Mm-hmm.
we all have this desire to be somewhere within ourselves, and then also we feel like there's all these imaginated time clocks that are telling us, hey, you have to have a baby by this day, you got to graduate school by this time, and oh, make sure you get married by this date because no one's going to want you after that. All these different elements that come into play, and it really puts pressure on you to where you can't even go into growing older with ease and enjoy it and
There's
the journey.
Yeah, absolutely. There's all these like weird milestones of you have to hit this thing by this age, and if you don't, there's some kind of shame that's attached to it, and um it really takes away from achieving whatever it is. So if you want to have a family, and you don't do it by a certain date, when you finally have a family, when you finally buy a house or get a car or start your career, then it's just like it's seen as you should have did this 15 years ago, you should have did this so long ago. And it's like, okay, you're taking all the joy out of achieving the thing.
Thank you. And don't project on me because my
Right.
time is not your time, and I see that so much, especially with social media now, because I'm not so dated, but we didn't have all this when I was younger. And but I see a lot that people, they don't want anything good for you, or they're not okay with your happiness. Why are you worried or judging me because I'm, 50 and I just got my first house. That is
Right.
that is an extreme accomplishment for me. That is a wonderful milestone in my life. Why do I have to be on your timetable? Why are you worried about, my ovaries? Why are you worried about my bank account? Why are you worried about what my hair color looks like, or if the sky is blue, or if it's raining over here where I'm standing? Why does that even matter? If you're so focused on your life and you are truly actually happy, then you don't
Mhm.
have time to worry about me, because I have a lot of things going on over here and I would love to get it off my plate. And if you want to take it on, you can. But if not, please leave me be and allow me to thrive in my own successes accordingly, because I'm proud of me.
Yeah, Janae seconds that. She says, "Preach." I feel like if people learn, just like the song says, sweep around your own front door. Don't keep coming around here. But I do have a question for the audience. What are some artificial timelines that you really had to let go of? And I know a lot of them have to do with age, like achieving a milestone by a certain age. But what are some of those artificial timelines that you really just had to let go of? And while you think about that, I was talking with someone who's in the boomer generation, and she had this idea of she did everything right. Right? It's air quotes. Like she did everything right. She was married by a certain age, waited the 2.5 years to have a child, and then had another child 2 years later. She did the right things of what she was supposed to do. And I'm just like, according to who? Who said that this is the right way to do things? Like you can't say that there's a timetable that you have to stick with, or a place that you have to be in at a certain point. And I feel like putting so much pressure, um like when you're in high school and you get told at 17, 18 years old, you need to figure out what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life. I may be a different person by the time I'm 25.
This is true. I will say today, ironically, someone I know that is in our age range told me, I wish I would have listened back when I was in school or school age, when they said, you need to come up with a plan for your life. You need to figure out something, because I really feel like I'm out here and I don't know what I'm doing. And so, I mean, it could go both ways, but I don't feel that we should have like these imaginary constraints and projections just, ingrained into us. I feel like what we talked about previously in our conversation about being prepared and being organized, I think that is wonderful, and I think it is very necessary. But
Mhm.
we have to definitely respect the fact that as we grow, as our we go through trials and tribulations in our life, that our life will, whether we like it or not, change. And then at that
Right.
point, whether it's a level of maturity at that, or wisdom, that point, you are going to have to pivot, and you are going to have to come up with a different strategy for your life, because you may outgrow things, you may surpass certain things. And why would you ever want to stay stagnant or not move at all, because there's no motivation or anything behind what you're doing? But at the same time, what's for someone else is not necessarily for us. And you always have to be in the driver's seat of what you want, because you do have, with all, grace of God, we have control and liberty over our own lives, especially as we get into adulthood and our parents are no longer supporting us financially and guiding us every day of our lives. We
Mhm.
have that capability um, to take the reins. And so, you don't have to live in someone else's shadow or live in the light of what someone else wants for you, just because they have sold it to you in such a way that this is what is considered by society as the right thing to do, or the ideal thing to do in order to be successful.
Right. And I think there's a difference. I'm getting to the comments in just a second. I think there's a difference between having these artificial timelines and having structure. Having the structure, or to even have the practice of what am I going to do in my next steps, that is good practice. That is good. That's a good way to have structure. But saying that this is what I need to do in a certain amount of time, because you don't know what other factors would come across your path that may change your timeline. So I can agree that there's a necessity of balance, but also there's a difference in having structure and having timelines. Janae says career progression. Talk about it, Janae, because a lot of people think that you join the career that you're in, whatever the lane is, whether it's in the military, whether it's corporate America, small business owner, or whatever, and they think that you're supposed to go from fresh out the blocks to millionaire, or straight from the bottom to the top in a span of a 3-minute song. So what are some things that you've noticed in career progression? Hey, really, TT, welcome.
Hey.
It can be difficult, especially if you are in a community that has a lot of that. I don't know what the energy is called, but it's like that judgmental, I achieved this, you should be able to achieve yada yada yada. Because there's so many people who are like, you should be able to get a job without having any skills. If you just want to work, you can find work. But I also need a livable wage. So no, I'm not working for minimum wage, and you want me to break my back doing what?
Well, everybody has a standard. And so whether you're mopping a floor or you're running a Fortune 500 company, whatever you're doing, it's based on your standard of what you feel is where you should be, if it's worthy for you to take on, if it's the type of style that you're into, work-wise, whatever the case may be. But also, it is hard when you are either running in certain circles or born into a certain succession where everybody's doing a certain thing,
right?
And then now that's put in your lap to where, why aren't you doing that thing, why aren't you doing that? And it's like,
yeah,
because maybe I like to be a free spirit, or maybe that's just not for me, or maybe I have ideas of my own that I think that are truly amazing, and I want to hone in on them and truly invest in them and see where it takes me. Everybody has to understand that what they want is not the general consensus of what everybody else wants,
right?
and we get there the same way in taking different avenues.
And what I'll add to that is that when people learn to just respect the choices, so even if you've been in your career for 10, 15 years and you realize right now, like, this is not what I want. Midlife crisis, new thought patterns, new people, whatever happened, it should just be respected that this is the decision. Unless this decision is affecting your life, respect this person's decision and maybe wanting to get into something that may seem a little less stable, or something that is completely different. So if a person wanted to leave a guaranteed paycheck job and go into business for themselves, or go into sales where they make commission, the money is going to fluctuate, absolutely, especially if you're working in the construction business. Like, it's feast or famine. So respect that person is at least trying something that is different, because they want something different than what they've been getting. Janae says, there's this expectation, or rather, it's more impressive, commendable, if you get promoted to the next rank on the first try. Ooh, is this in the military community, or is this like everybody?
I think she's probably referencing military too, because I know that the more decorated you are, the more
Mm-hmm.
highly ranked you are, the more valuable and visible you are. Even in the military, based on what branch you're in, there's a lot of there could be a lot of negativity and a lot of pretentious behavior about that, because like, oh, uh, you were in the army, I was in the Marines, or I was in the Air Force, or I was, like, as if one is better than the other, and
Right.
it's not okay. We're fighting the same fight, you know. We're both patriotic. We are both, in this together. Because if there's a war popping off, we're gonna be there together, sir or ma'am. So
Right.
yeah, I've heard that a lot from friends that I have that are in the military.
It once I've learned to really stop comparing what my life is currently, where it's at, the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, the amazing, the terrible, whatever my life is right now, because I can see all of it, and I'm comparing it to the view, to the Instagram, TikTok, social media view of someone else's life, that really made me feel like I wasn't trying as hard or doing as much or putting forth enough effort to achieve what they have. But then I was like, I don't really want what somebody else has. I want what's mine. Whatever is attached to Leah, that's what I want. And that's what I want to go for. My life doesn't have to look like so and so person. For me, it takes me, I can learn things, pick things up, attain information rather quickly. Another person, it may take them a little bit longer, but I'm not proficient in everything. I don't know everything there is to know about everything. And that's why I think, like, when we stop comparing ourselves to so many other people in the world, like, I can't compare myself to the other billions of people in the world, because that's not going to be fair to me, and then I'm just going to be in a constant state of, I have to beat this person, I have to get more than they have, and then instead of it being um a community that is growing, it's one person trying to step on other people in or everybody fighting for the top and treating the top like, oh, only one person can make it. And that's when we get this like crab mentality. Janae says, I think a big point you both touched on is reprogramming what was instilled in us. We all have those relatives that refuse to let us live in the moment. Every time they see you, it's what's next, when you getting married, when you having a baby. Girl.
Right. Right. All the
Girl.
time. And it starts when you're so young. And it's like, oh my gosh, where is this pressure coming from? And I can admit that some of the decisions I made as an adult was because of my family and the pressure I felt to do the right things, or at least what they told me what was right, without me even seeing life for myself and understanding the whole dynamics of what I was doing and what those decisions would, do to my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't necessarily like to say I have regrets, but I do wish that I would have followed my own heart and, been um, more not aggressive, just more adamant about me making the decision instead of going along with what the person or people I respected in my life, in my family wanted me to do.
Yeah, and I feel as if a lot of us have to get to that point where we have this assertive mindset in, I'm going to do what I want to do because I want to do it. Whatever the consequences, bring them on. I'm going to do what it is I want to do. But we only get that after challenging, what the expectations were or are from those people who are in our village, because when we go around them and they say, "Oh, so when are you getting married and when you having kids?" And I was just like, "Are you buying the diapers?" I'm not like, are you going to be the one going to the hospital with them at 2-3 o'clock in the morning when they have a fever that hasn't broken all day?
Thank you.
Like, who's staying up, prepared, like doing meal prep?
And as a woman, if I, develop postpartum, are you going to come, tag in and take over? Why go get
Is
on my
postpartum
knee?
baby blues? Is that what that
Yeah,
is?
yeah, depression.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So, while you're putting all this pressure on me to build this village of my own, where's the help, or what what's the plan, the strategy if all else goes south, who's gonna patch in over here and take over? So I mean, you have to follow your own timeline. There's been things that have been said to me that I really respected because it gave me a lot of motivation and encouragement to want and desire better, such as, being encouraged to go to school and then get an education, and then also
Mhm.
be given the why behind it. Um, Not saying it has to be a certain type of education. It was never like, well, you have to go to this Ivy League school and you have to get like 3 degrees in order to be, this. No one's going to respect you if you don't get this. So it wasn't that. It was just more so to say, hey, this is the climate of our society right now. And depending on what you're trying to do or depending on what industry you're trying to break into, you might need this. And it was like, oh, okay, I can respect that. And then in regards to the motivation to, achieve higher, sometimes I'm like, who set that bar? I can't even reach that bar. That doesn't make, I'm 4'11". That's way too high. So the bar of, hey, just know that you can be anything you want to be. You can be president. You can be the CEO of this. You can do this. Just letting me know that it is attainable and it's possible for a little girl like me. That was important here. But as far as why aren't you this, or you could do this, or I think, or well, that's great, but I'm gonna go ahead and do this over here because this matches more of my speed, and I appreciate the commentary, but no, thank you. I'm okay.
Girl, Lord. Jocelyn says, right, when you are under pressure from family, it feels like everything you do is wrong if it's your decision.
Yeah.
That, oh,
Yeah, if you do great, it's oh my gosh, you did so amazing. You did bad. See, I told you, you should have did this. You should have did that. See, you don't listen to nobody, and you're getting what you get. Da 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 da. And that's not fair. We're human. We're flawed. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're not, exempt from sin. We are going to bump our heads. We are going to stumble, and as long as we find our way back upright, we're
mhm.
okay. As long as we understand that those decisions were impactful and that sometimes they can be too impactful to where it can really cause a misstep and we don't ever want to experience those type of things again. As long as we
Right.
learn our lesson, we're okay. Because that leads to other things, other detrimental things that can go down a really dark hole, especially when you're ingraining this in a child and they feel like they can never make a mistake. It will definitely haunt them and really manipulate everything that they do, or the moment a crisis breaks out, they will crumble because they're not equipped to handle that, because their life is set on being perfect and living within the lines and can never making mistakes. That's not fair to put that on someone.
I I agree. And before I make this next statement, let me just go through the comments really quick. Janae says, "Preach." Hey Lenora. Hey Rachel. Rachel says, "Yes, come on now." Um, one thing and one thing that I had to do is like when I moved out in like 2013, and my parents asked me to come home, and I had to just, and I don't know if this is like one of those parent test things, But I had to tell them, like, I don't want to be 30 years old afraid to make a decision by myself. Like, if I fall, just let me fall, let me figure it out. And it was a very I didn't know what I had in me. I didn't know if I could even do it. I had been gone maybe like 6 months, and I wasn't in a bad place. But my parents just knew that I could be doing better than where I was. It's just like, you got so much potential. You can do this. You can do that. And I appreciate all their encouragement, because they continue to push and encourage and show me new things. Especially when my dad was like, "So, how long until you're making six figures?" And I was just like, I didn't even think of that as like a possibility until he said it, and I was just like, I could be making six figures. But it's that having that conversation of just like, I appreciate that you want to be my safety net. I appreciate that you want to set up the structure so that I can succeed, but I have to make these decisions on my own. I have to fall on my face. I have to make these mistakes. And if I can make these mistakes, then maybe I can figure out how to get around it. Because if I keep calling and asking for, your opinion, it turns into asking for permission. And if I'm constantly asking for permission, I won't have that confidence in myself that I need to be successful. So I wholeheartedly agree. If you don't teach your kid that, they can make their decisions, but they have to be ready to deal with the consequences, then it could be difficult when they do get older, they do become an adult, they are out on their own, and they're like, I have no idea how to make this choice. I have no idea what to do. Not saying that you would leave your kids out to dry, but you say, look, trust your gut. You got this. I can help you on this thing. I can give you advice if you want my advice. But letting them know that they have, you're giving them your vote of confidence of just like, no, like, you got this. You got this.
I agree. And with me being in the motherhood club, it's something that I often think about because I love my kids with everything in me. I want them to be successful. I want them to have all the tools necessary to have a amazing life of abundance. However, I do understand that I can't live this life for them. And as long as I'm giving them the necessary tools that they can go out and make it on their own or fish for themselves, I've done enough. And my biggest fear is coddling them and enabling them to where
Mm.
now I am forced to provide for them for the rest of my days, regardless to whatever's going on in my own life, and that they won't have the confidence or the strength or the courage to get out there, fall, get back up, or, become whatever it is that God has instilled in them, because now they've been babied their whole life, or I've been so afraid of them breaking a nail or busting a sweat when they didn't have to because I'm here. You know, biggest fear. I really am learning that because that's not what I want to be, and the type of parenting I want to do, to try to relax and take my hands off, because you don't really see the perspective, of a parent until you become one, to where it's like, okay, that's why they said that. Okay, you touch fire, you do get burnt. Dang, I should
Right.
have known. It's like you don't really get it until you get there, and until you experience certain things, and you see it for yourself, or you see the reenactment of love, from your eyes of something that you've created, something so wonderful. But at the same time, um, my life is my life, and everything that I want to achieve within my life that I've been given is on me. And not only is it on me, but it's personal to me. So I don't want to inflict any of that on them and force them into now becoming my mini protege, because that's not where we're at.
Yeah, that's a fine line to walk. It's a fine line to walk. Rachel says, right, you're so used to being there for your kids regardless. Yeah, it can be tough to know when to let them bust their face. Like that could be hard. Janine says, I felt the same way when I watched Moesha as an adult. Yeah, you don't. Jocelyn says, girl, yes, Moesha was so eye opening to watch it as an adult. As a kid, like watching it is, it's like, oh, why are they being so mean to Moesha? And then watching it as an adult and realizing how bratty she is, it's like, man, I hope I don't do that to my kids. But since we have parents here, because I think everybody in the comments are parents, I want to know, how do you prepare your kids for life? Like, not just walking out the front door, when we're in the grocery store, don't touch anything, or whatever, but how do you prepare your kids to deal with life? And Chris, I'll let you go first.
We prepare our kids for life. Learning from our own mistakes so that we can lead by example. Uh, Giving them everything that we can to set them up for success, whether it's our time and efforts in everything that we do career wise, to enable them to have a decent life to where they don't have to endure certain struggles that will prevent them from being successful, or come in the way of their success, or give them
Mm-hmm.
more hoops to get to their success. That's important. Making sure that we are getting rid of certain negative traits and habits and things that will spill over into our children, breaking generational curses. um, Having faith and always centering, God first, and making sure that they have the confidence, because you need that. You definitely need to have confidence in order to
Right.
walk through life. It's very hard in this world. I think, and love. I think when you really pour love into your children, they feel whole and they feel complete. And then they're not out there trying to rectify whatever hurt you have put them through. And they're not trying to then become something in spite of, or, struggling with who they are inside as an individual. So I think, that's really important too, because that also will build that confidence in them to say, hey, my mom or my dad, my parents have given me everything they have, down to the essence of who they are, and they have really shown me by example that with this you can have this. Nothing is impossible. You can achieve it all, and now I feel that I can do it too. I think that's the best way that you can prepare your kids for life, and honesty about what is going on in the world around them, not sugarcoating things, not tiptoeing around them, actually confronting those hard situations and subject matters, because you don't want them to go out into the world foolish and naive.
Whew.
Really trying to prepare them. We talked about financial literacy before, making sure that they have an understanding, an overall understanding of things. They may not know much about it, but making sure that they have an idea of it, so that when they encounter these type of situations, they may not be totally prepared, but at least they know, that they can try to make the best possible decision, because they've been taught the right way.
That is work on a daily basis. Because it's almost like every interaction matters. So you never know which interaction is going to stick with them.
All of them, if you
And
do.
so it's like you gotta be on top of it. And I mean, we're only human, but it's such. I mean, parenting. Whoo, more power to y'all. Um, more power to y'all. Janae says, be as her the way she prepares her kids is to be as real as possible and speak to them in a manner that they can understand. Start early and never have your ego be too big that you can never apologize to your kids. Pray over and for them and let them know, no matter what, that you're there. That, oh, she says, I'm here. But that,
I love that. Also, never being too big to apologize. I seen this meme a couple months ago about apologizing to your children. we can never be too hidey to think that we know everything or that we're doing everything the right way. I
Right.
guarantee most people can draw back to some crazy memories of their parents doing something. And when you said, oh, how the kids, pick up on certain things, or, that they're watching everything. I mean, kids are impressionable. They are watching everything, whether it, sticks with them, they retain that or not. They are watching. And so,
Absolutely.
even when we feel that we're in the right or we know what's best because we've been out there, and we don't want them to go through certain things. The world is different too for us, and no matter what we think, yeah, we've been out there, but it changes constantly. And so what we think we know, we may not know, because we might not have been out there in a very long time, or we may be in the clouds because we have reached a certain level that we don't have to come down there anymore. We can never be too big within ourselves that we know everything, and that we
Right.
know that we're too big to apologize to our kids. And you have to show your children that too, because um, not ever being wrong can stick with a child in two different ways, where they always think that they never do anything right, or that they're always in the wrong, or that they're so imperfect, or that, hey, I can do whatever I want and I never have to apologize. I never have to take accountability for anything that I do, and I know what's right. You can create a monster out of that too. But I really love what Janaya said, because I think that
And
that is
that
super
ain't the
important.
truth. Oh, that ain't the truth.
Yeah, smash.
Because listen, because we gotta deal with whoever these kids are that are walking around. Oh, God, no, Lord have mercy. They didn't grow up to be adults that I cannot stand. Good grief. Uh, Jocelyn says, be real with them. Show them that God is real. Try to teach them things before anyone can give them the incorrect information. Girl, the internet is fast. Who
Yeah.
the internet is fast. Love them from home so they aren't looking for love anywhere else. Look, girl, I got more. I want to hear more. Like, I feel like so many people, it's not just um a love thing. There's a sense of belonging that a lot of kids who are essentially lost, that they're looking for some kind of sense of belonging, some place to call home, that they don't have. And by being able to create that atmosphere at home, and so that they know, regardless, they know that they can go to mom, they can go to dad, that they can come to their family, and their family is going to love on them and be there for them and talk to them and make them know, not just make them feel, but make them know that they matter. That is something that is invaluable. And I think a lot of times, we don't really take care to learn how to do that, in those, like, in between times. And so when we have kids, I think that, just like Jocelyn said, like, learning how to have love at home, and that way they're not just under, any and everybody who's going to take them.
I agree. I definitely agree. There's a lot of kids and a lot of adults searching for something that they don't even know what it is, because they feel that they were lacking from home, and that they didn't get enough attention. And sometimes as adults, we think, oh, well, I go to work and I pay the bills and I do this and I do that. So there goes your love right there. And it's like, no, um,
Mm,
you gotta do a little bit more, honey.
right.
It takes a lot more to secure your child and make them feel loved and protected, and heard and understood and visible, because a lot of kids feel invisible, that nothing that they do ever amounts to anything, or that no one ever sees them for who they are.
Right.
And then that creates a lot of insecurity, and that's that hurts. You don't want to do that to these children. They have so much potential. Part of the thing with kids, they don't even realize what their life entails, and how much promise they have as they go forward and forward and forward. They have the world at their fingertips and don't even know it, and there's so much potential for them. And if you don't start with them early, they will never realize that, and you will pigeonhole them, and,
Right.
and stifle them.
Girl. Girl. Let's see. Hey, Dad. I don't. Oh yeah, you were here earlier. Yes. Dad says the game changed our focus. The game changed. Our focus was for you to first stay out of the system. Second, work and earn what you want. Third, respect. Fourth, a relationship with God. Television and social media has become the new parents in some households, very unfortunately. That is that is so true. A lot of parents just like, hey, yeah, whatever you learn on social media, let that be the thing. I just want peace to myself. I want quiet time to myself. So go watch TV or go play with your friends or whatever. Like just be out of my space.
Yeah, a lot of parents are checked out mentally, and or feel that what is on their plate is so much that they don't have 5 to 10 minutes to check on their child and see what's really going on. And you need more time than that, ideally, but you have to check on your children. You have to see what their focus is and what they're doing and what's feeding them, what's influencing them and inspiring them. It's so important. And that was a big thing for me when my kids were younger, and YouTube became this big thing, and cell phones, the technology expanded to where you can do so much on it now.
Right.
I chose not to expose them to that because there wasn't all this programming that they have now. There wasn't ABC Mouse back then. There wasn't these outlets for them to do positive learning with social media and technology. So my decision was to make that I did not want them on there, and I waited until they were older, 10, 11. And I know that in some ways people looked at me crazy, like, wow, you really just made it harder on them to learn how this works, and whatever. And for me, I do a lot of little kids that were on there, and I know that they were exposed to a lot of things that were more adult and mature for them, and it
Mm-hmm.
influenced their behavior. And even to this day, growing into their teenager years, it has influenced them in so much a way to where it blurs the lines of reality. You should never be influenced
Right.
by a video game, a social media platform, um, you know, some type of skit or whatnot. Those things you should always know right from wrong and have some form of common sense, because it should be taught from your parents. So
One would hope.
well, you would hope, yeah.
One would hope.
Yeah, many
Um,
parents are very problematic in the way that they choose to parent their children, with their lack of parenting by sticking a child in front of a TV, a tablet, or a phone. I don't think that that's okay.
no, it's you got to show up. You got to show up. Let's see. Jocelyn says, answering what is like cussing at me.
Ding, ding, ding.
Woo, girl. Janae said, girl, my hand twitched reading that. That said, dead child walking when I was younger. Yeah, answering what? No, absolutely not. No. Rachel says, while they're young, I say no, teaching the value of a dollar, being respectful, a parent, and teaching them to be independent. Yeah, I think those are some great values, especially when you want to, especially like being respectful, your appearance and independence, because you get to help them understand that in order to respect other people, they have to have respect for themselves. So walking around in clothes that are tattered or dirty or not taking care of the way you talk to yourself or the way that you treat yourself, making sure that you eat, you hydrate. When you take care of yourself, you're more than likely to be respectful of your environment and respectful of others that are in your environment.
I agree. And I think these are definitely wonderful lessons to enter into adulthood with as well, because respect will take you a long way in life. And independence is extremely important for children to learn and understand, especially the value of a dollar, because when they are at that age to where they are released into the world independently,
Mhm.
they are going to need some form of structure financially in order to stay afloat, even as they're building their success.
And the interesting thing, teaching kids no. Um, and Dylan, he's one. And I don't think I've ever had to verbalize this or think about this in this way. So this was an interesting point in the last week or so. I had, like, Dylan had just finished eating. I think we were all finished eating, and I was eating something else, and Dylan asked me for it, and he's signing please. And please is supposed to be the magic word to get you whatever it is that you want. And then I think about it like, oh, you have to learn that even if you are nicely asking for whatever it is, you're not always going to get what you want. Which is, it seems like a harsh lesson to learn from a 1 year old, but I feel like learning to understand that you're not going to get what you want helps a lot in the long run, because you don't want to learn that at the age of 35. What do you mean I can't just buy this person off? What do you mean I can't have what it is I want? There's always a way.
Well, learning the power of no in certain spaces so that you're not um, forced or coerced into doing things that don't sit well with your morale.
Mhm.
Um, Being able to know when it's time to go, or that certain things just are past your boundaries. No is
Right.
really important. Teaching children at a young age so they have that understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Y'all have some great answers tonight. Janae says something else we actively practice is making sure neither of us does the one size fits all parenting. Our kids are individuals and react differently to different situations and punishments. Instead of grabbing the belt because it's easy, we found other ways to get to the root cause of why they did XYZ. That's I and I have I had to understand. I think probably in my teens, and I still was questioning a little bit in my early 20s of just like, no, if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. Everybody should do this, and it's like um, having conversations with other parents and having conversations with other people. It's the punishment is supposed to fit within what is going to get the attention of the child. So yeah, you can get a whooping, but you just gonna make sure you don't get caught so you don't get a whooping. If if you know that you like to, like, if someone likes to go play sports or go play with their friends, going outside, taking away that punishment may mean more to one kid, but another kid is like having his tablet or having her phone. Like, that's going to mean more if you take that away. But if you take out going outside, they don't really go outside. So yeah, I agree with understanding your child's specific needs and understanding why they did what they did and helping them to kind of navigate the better decisions to make in the future. I think that is helpful, because it is easier to give a whooping, because you could just handle it, get it over with, and move on. But you know, talking it out, teaching the lesson, that does take some real hands-on, let's have this kind of conversation time, that I think a lot of kids, whether they know it or not, would appreciate over than just, well, I was instructed to be this way and this is how I'm going to be.
I agree, and I think that whoopings are a little dated at this stage of the game, with the new age parenting even coming into play, because um, I think that was more of a taught disciplinary action.
Mm-hmm.
I know that my grandparents dropped out of elementary school to work on a farm to make money, and that they weren't able to read or write, and so they couldn't articulate themselves in such a manner, but they used to whoop my dad and my uncles all the time, and my auntie, to discipline them. Whereas my father chose to actually sit me down and talk to me, and
Mm-hmm.
he was just so intimidating. I cry right there on the spot. We didn't need any extra discipline at that point. I knew I was
Mm-hmm.
wrong, and I knew I was getting in trouble. it really resonated with me differently. And but I do see all aspects of discipline. I mean, I understand, I respect everybody's right to do as they please, but it was helpful in meeting us where we were, and to also explain thoroughly the why, um, in knowing the difference between right and wrong and what's okay in this household and what's not okay. And so I barely had to taste the belt. And as I parented, I've tried a combination of everything, and I learned that at a younger age. That's not gonna work with this child because he doesn't even know why I'm whipping him. What's going on? He's looking at me confused, and I'm confused too because now I'm tired. I don't know what to do anymore. So I realized that he was a very different individual, and that wasn't going to work for him because he was still going to do what he wanted to do until he understood it wasn't okay. So,
Yeah.
You definitely have to meet your children where they are, understand that they're individuals, and definitely make sure that they understand why they're in trouble and what the consequences are for certain types of behaviors.
Yeah, and I think about, there was one situation where I think we were doing something, and one of my nephews, Tyrico, he looked like he was about to have a bad day, like something was wrong clearly. And Jocelyn's like, okay, what's going on? And oh, nothing. And Jocelyn stood there and talked with him until he was just like, you were supposed to take me to the store to go do this, and we didn't get to do it, and so I don't really like, so I feel like you forgot. And Jocelyn was just like, I forgot, I really did, like, I'm sorry, please remind me next time. And even just having that conversation, instead of like everyone having a bad day, it was just like her knowing her son, and having that kind of conversation. Those are the great things that I like to see in this generation. Even with Rachel and Janae and Kayla, just talking to their kids, and just like our parents like talk with us, like, hey, what's happening? Like, talk to me. What's going on? And having those conversations, so that it's not something that lingers over and snowballs into something else when we could have nipped it in the bud. It's not all about, well, you're not acting the way I want you to act, so I'm gonna put my hands on you. It's more like, hey, what is preventing you from doing what you're supposed to be doing in this moment? Or what are some of the behaviors that you're experiencing right now that's causing you not to lose focus and to act like you don't have good sense? And I can appreciate now, like, there are a variety of ways to have these different types of conversations, different types of different levels of reprimanding different kids. And instead of, it's just like, well, always going to get beat. And so I like that we're now exploring those different ways, exploring those conversations, and that kids have that trust, that love, that space to know that, yeah, if I make a mistake, I'm going to get checked, but I know that it's happening out of love. It's not happening because, I'm the worst kid ever, or I am a terrible human being, but my parents love me enough to come check me. Mm-hmm. And I can appreciate, even now, like, watching those conversations unfold, like that has been like one of the highlights that I've seen from this generation of parenting. Aside from the ones who are letting the internet raise their kids, the ones who are actually present, the ones who are there. I like seeing how those conversations unfold, and how parents are really trying to be in their kids' lives and be there for them, and not just know what their favorite colors are, but how are they reacting in certain situations? What are some things that are making them uncomfortable? They have their antennas up, and they're really involved in their kids' lives.
Right, because if we're being honest, a lot of these patterns, habits and behaviors start at home. So where are they learning it from? What are we showing them or not showing them by being present or not present? We got to step in and take some accountability for their actions too, and make sure that we rectify it and really make them understand, you know, why, or, you know, why this was wrong, what's the difference between right and wrong, um, why you should not conduct yourself in this way.
Yeah, I feel like we've had a great conversation. I think this was great. Thank you to everyone in the audience for being here.
And the
Chris,
engagement is amazing.
huh?
The engagement is amazing.
Yeah, listen, I love my people. I love my people. They show up, they show out, they engage. It's great. Can you tell people where to find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Chrissy Elayne. For right now, that's pretty much the best platform to locate me on.
Is it you don't have anything else you want to plug?
Oh, I do, but I don't.
I was like, there's a certain book that's out.
Yeah, there is a book that's out.
I feel like you should talk about your book.
I have a poetry book out called Creole Unicorn. It's a lot of great inspiration and situations that I've endured in my life, and it was very therapeutic and helpful in releasing that material for the time period that I experienced, and now I'm moving past. So, if you have time, you can check it out. If you like poetry, it's amazing.
Where can they find it?
If you go to my website, I have a link in the bio, and you can access it there.
Can they find your website on Instagram, or is this
It's
like a
on
secret?
Instagram. It's on Instagram. You can Google it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble as well, or you can buy it through Lulu. And that's
And the book is called.
it's called Creole Unicorn.
I was like, we're only going to do half plugs. Got it. Okay. All right. If you don't want to plug
I'm sorry, I've
yourself,
never been on this type of platform before. So I'm not prepared. That's my fault. Accountability.
listen, y'all. It took me a minute to try to pry this book from her hands so she could send it to me. Creole Unicorn is an amazing work of art that Chris has put together, and it's different poems that are taken from different aspects and different parts of her life, and it's a really great read. So if you like literary works of art, if you like poetry, if you want to gift it to someone, you'll be able to support a Black business, a great creator, and someone who really loves the art of poetry. So make sure that you check out Creole Unicorn. You won't be disappointed. Like by the first poem, I was all in. I was just all in. It's a really, really good work of art. And I hope that you all can go to her Instagram, check out her website, and grab the book. And I promise you will enjoy it.
Thank you, sister.
Yeah, you gotta plug your people. You gotta plug your people. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you, really, TT. Thank you, Janai. Thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Dad. Thank you, Lenora. I think I said Jocelyn. If I didn't, thank you, Jocelyn. Said Rachel. And oh, thank you, Bob. I didn't realize you were here. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, David. And I think I got everyone. We absolutely appreciate you supporting the podcast. Make sure that you share, you like this, you comment. We really do appreciate you. We have some really great things that are coming up. We are starting next week, getting ready for our next round of recordings for the debate show. We've had some great guests on there. I'm really excited for this season. This season is going to be even better than last season. So that will be airing in September. So make sure you be on the lookout for that. And that's all that I have. Thank you all. You have a great evening. We'll see you later.